Welcome back to Ladies Love Notes, where we give you all of the real about being newly-ish single and dating in your 40s. This week's question comes from Tired of Dating, she, her. I've been trying to get back into the dating world as a single, queer 30-something. I'm coming off of a divorce, but I also have a few years of therapy under my belt, so I feel like I'm ready. However, I've dated 3 women over the last 6 months or so, and all 3 situations ended with me feeling completely blindsided and confused. I feel myself losing trust in people, but I'm also tired of being alone. Help! Honey, first of all, I hear you and I feel you. There is so much bullshit surrounding dating, and I'm sorry it feels like you're in the muck of it all. A few things stood out for Lady as she read your inquiry, especially the part where you say that you're tired of being alone. I got real Al Green vibes when I read that, and let me say this. I hear you. And when you're really ready for dating, the comfort of being alone is actually what you bring to the table. I know. It sounds counterintuitive, but hear Lady out just for 1 second. When you're dating because you don't want to be alone, you're giving and receiving that which is actually not conducive to you being in a partnership that feeds you. As a soon-to-be divorced, recently-ish single lady, let me attest to this. Dating to not be alone is like driving a car to go nowhere. Bad for the environment and not very productive. It really sounds like there's some stuff here to keep working through in therapy. What is underneath not wanting to be alone? Seeking completion in someone else ain't gonna get you nowhere but codependent on someone else to meet your needs. I know. Darling, love, meet your own needs. Be your own bestie. Date yourself for a while. I'm serious on this. The more you can learn to meet your own needs, you can accomplish coming to dating and eventually partnership in such a way that you're actually showing up as whole and a complement to someone else, not a missing piece. Let me explain. After my own separation, I felt completely unanchored. I met someone and I thought, oh, maybe this is what I needed. And it was lovely for like a hot second. And then it was a whole ass hot mess. I allowed shit that wasn't good for me. I overlooked shit that deeply hurt me. I allowed myself to be entangled in some nonsense and I kept holding on. I thought because relationships are work, and I figured this was just a part of the work we needed to do to get to the other side. But when it finally ended, painfully and ridiculously, I realized something. I was looking for something in them that I really needed from myself. I always thought I was someone who liked being alone, but it wasn't until I really gave myself the time to be alone that I realized that I needed to rebuild that muscle after not being alone for such a long time. I had to really and truly grieve the ending of my relationship, the one I had separated from and the one I'd gotten myself into. Can you imagine? 2 heartbreaks at once, child. I kept trying to move on and date and get out there, and it was always the same story. Some bullshit. There was some shit I needed to end for myself. The need to be needed, wanting security in someone else. I spent so much time alone, grieving, being curious about what was left in the rubble. And slowly but surely, I started putting my heart back together again. I relearned what I liked, recommitted to what made me whole and what served my needs and me. And now, my love, at this point in my process, I guard it fiercely. I am finally dating again, but slowly. I met someone who gives me butterflies. And honestly, sugar, I wasn't sure I could get there again. I'm in that phase where it feels good, and I'm just keeping it there. I'm not looking for my one and only because I already found her. She is me. And that allows me to enjoy another person for what and who they are. Not as a potential partner, but as someone who I feel happy with. Notice how I didn't say they make me happy? Listen to that part again. I'm not ready to be somebody's girlfriend, and I'm definitely not even thinking about being somebody's wife for the time being and foreseeable future. But after spending some intentional time falling in love with me again, I am closer to being ready to do that again, fall in love. I'm learning to trust myself again, and that could have only happened by allowing myself to be forged in the fire. Or, as my therapist says, the only way out is through. So ladies' advice, dear one, is to go through the fire. Walk it through with your therapist, beloved. Learn to be in love with yourself and create more room for love in the process. You got this, honey, I promise. Give yourself time to heal and to grieve. And if you're like me and only take the advice that works for me at the moment, I feel you. Here it is. Dating in this moment could also just be about getting to know people and not trying to lock it down. Side note, after my separation and then the subsequent dumpster fucking fire of that man I fell in love with afterwards, my therapist encouraged me to make a list of the qualities I wanted in a person I could stand still with for a bit. At the time, I was super irritated by the exercise. I thought, please God, just help me find someone who isn't a complete disaster. I only got one thing on my list, I thought. I got to about 25 qualities. And after each failed dating experiment, I added things that I realized I wanted that I wasn't getting. It's been over a year since I made the list, and even a year since I revisited it. Just this past weekend, I was talking to my girlfriend about this person I'm talking to, and I pulled out the list. Turns out there's synergy with about 95% of it. Shout out to the work it took to get there. Your love is coming, dear one. The first step, though, is to fall back in love with yourself.